let's take a look at ABAP 1909. Hi, I'm Thain. Welcome to another SAP CodeTalk. And I'm really pleased to have Andre Fischer with me. As you can see on the screen, Andre, thank you for joining me on SAP CodeTalk.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so one of the big things I've been seeing around on Twitter and blogs is ABAP 1909. So first of all, can you give, for those who are not initiated, maybe like an elevator pitch on ABAP 1909?
Yeah, so ABAP 1909 is the ABAP platform which is running underneath SAP S/4HANA 1909. So we are numbering the ABAP platform now with the same numbers as we use it for SAP S/4HANA. And it's, in contrast to NetWeaver, it's not available as a standalone product. Nevertheless, we managed to get it, to make it available now for developers as a download, so that you can download it and play around with it.
So is that developer edition that I'm assuming you're mentioning, is that a free developer edition as a lot of the other developer editions we have?
Exactly. So it's for free. So you can download it. We have made it available via Docker. So it's available for download as a Docker image. So very conveniently, if you install it now, because it's not really installed on your laptop anymore or on your PC, but since it's a Docker image, you just have to install Docker and run the image there.
Okay.
Virtual machine.
Cool. That's very good. So already set up, no tweaking, just do that and you're away. So what is actually in the box? What's in the download? What's in the Docker image?
In the Docker image, it's the ABAP platform. So we stripped it down to make it as small as possible. But don't forget, there is an SAP HANA 2.0 underneath. So that image at least needs 16 gigabytes. And then depending on where the Docker runs on, whether you are a Linux fan, whether it runs on Linux, or whether the Docker runs on top of Windows, the operating system needs something. So I would recommend a machine which has 24 gig. So with 16 gig, you can get it run on Linux, but not on Windows. And it's always, the more RAM you have, the better. So, and in the box, so you download it, and we have, for example, also installed SAP Cloud Connector in that machine, so you can configure it, so you don't have to run it on your laptop. Yeah, and that's basically it. What you get.
So what can people try out within ABAP 1909 in the Docker image?
So what they can try out is several things that we have made available. So for example, the ABAP platform 1909 is the first version where you can make use of the ABAP RESTful application programming model on premise. Mm-hmm. So it's let's say a limited version, so you can only implement so-called unmanaged scenarios, whereas in the cloud, in the BTP ABAP environment, we can already have so-called managed scenarios, comparable to what you had in former times with the so-called BOP, where all the create, update, delete is managed by the framework, and you can concentrate on building the business logic. Here, in the unmanaged scenario, you have to make more on your own as a developer. But with an upcoming version 2020, feature pack 1, this managed scenario will also be supported by the on-premise version as well. Okay,
cool. I know you mentioned it already, but I'd like to make sure that our audience get it. So the typical installation, the typical sort of setup for the developer edition, again, if you may.
Sorry?
If you can run through again just the typical setup for the developer edition, the machines, the different operating systems.
So it is, I would recommend, so my machine, so I'm running it on a laptop that has 32 gig. So Docker is installed, and I downloaded then the image, and created then an instance locally on my machine. So that works quite well. So there is also memory left for doing other things. So as I said, 16 is at the absolute minimum. You won't get it running on Windows with that. But if you would have a laptop that runs on Linux, and that's the minimum. And okay, from perspective on the disk space, the download is just 60 gigabyte, but that is then that's compressed. So I would go for 150 to 200 gig of disk space that you should have on your machine as well.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Right, so we've covered that. Obviously, not giving too much away. We don't talk too much about futures on CodeTalk. But you mentioned 2020. So there is a plan to provision another version.
Yep, my colleagues are already working on that edition. So it took us a little bit longer than expected, but this is always the problem if you have to work through certain procedures, right? So we managed to get the 1909 version out, but colleagues are now working also on the 2020 version, which is already out for customers, right? The S/4HANA 2020. Therefore, I understand the ask, when will that be available? But I cannot tell you now when this will be the case.
It's a plan. It's a plan there.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay, and just a little plug for you, Andre. I'm sure you're very good at your blogs on blogs.sap.com, and I'm sure you've been putting some things up about 1909 and everything else going forward.
Yeah, my colleague Julie Plummer has published a blog about this that explains everything in detail. So I guess we will put that underneath
we can
video.
put that yeah.
Right. I myself have now also published a blog to gracefully shut down the machine, because if it's running on Docker, right, and you shut down your Windows or your operating system, it's the same as you would pull out the plug from your computer, and the machine, and since it's quite a huge system, it has to have time to gracefully shut down. So I wrote something that when you shut down your Windows, which is probably the most used operating system out there, that the script is started, that it will shut down the machine gracefully before finally shutting down your Windows operating system.
Excellent. So we'll make sure that those are added in the description. Andre, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you. I think that we were saying just before we recorded that the last time we saw each other was at a TechEd. Time's gone by, maybe in the future, but thank you for joining us on CodeTalk today.
See you.